Hello everybody, this is Hawaii This Punch from Low Key High Entertainment, and I wanted to bring to you a second video. The first one was about 2-3 weeks ago. I've been busy doing other things and such, but I also wanted to gauge how many people watched the video, and I got roughly about 800 views on that, a couple subscribers from that whole hoopla, so I guess it does help with some people that viewed it and everything like that. So what I'm planning on doing with this channel is basically making it a user-friendly indie game developing channel. So tips and tricks that are kind of quick to help everybody out and that kind of sort of stuff. So make your own game the way that you want it and everything like that. So that being said, if you guys could, do the whole like, subscribe, etc., and so on, but more importantly, the comment section, just comment what kind of game you want me to build with you guys, and I'll walk you through that. This next video, I'll probably do like a main menu since it kind of covers all the video games, and if you want to do like an FPS or a top-down or, horror game, skate game, racing game, boxing, fighting, whatever you want. Just leave it in the comments, and I'll sort through them, and we'll start all that hoopla. So today I set up a little scene with the nanite meshes and all that good stuff, and we're going to go ahead and fix a couple of the FPS problems that a lot of people have. First off, let's start with a lot of things that I do see on other channels here is that, like, we have the settings page where you can go to your engine scaling between, cinematic, epic, high, medium, low. Epic settings, if you have an 8K or if you don't have an 8K monitor or any of that sort, I mean, there's no point in an epic resolution. It just, it's kind of silly. High is anywhere between 180 and 4K. It pushes a little higher than that, but like for the most part. And then medium is probably where most gamers want to get into. That's the 1080, 1080i, 1080p, up to 4K. So like a lot of people with lower end computers, or just just your standard computer or your standard game system, that is the setting. So don't let the medium fool you. That's actually very useful in a lot of things. The other things, for instance, are meshes. These Megascan meshes are really good. They got a lot of cool detail and stuff in there. The textures have a lot of cool detail and whatnot, but like a lot of these meshes being 2 million, 4 million, whatever million polygons, if it's like a wall, for instance, like this little wall here or whatever, it doesn't need 2 million polygons. It's just completely ridiculous. It's a six-sided object. 6 polygons at the least. And, if that's if you're not hiding the sides or anything like that. Like if you see in some of these meshes, this mesh here, you can see it from one side, and then it's invisible from the other. It's to, lower down the mesh count and things like that. So if you're building things, like trees or whatever, your tree doesn't need to be 2 million polygons. You can put it in Blender and make a tree that's 50 polygons, and you're just naturally going to have a better FPS than what you would if you didn't. So let's go into the FPS. In order to find this, there's a 3-bar thing on your viewer. Hit the little 3-bar, has a little FPS button, click it, boom, there it is, right? And you can hit the play button, and then as you're playing and viewing things, your FPS, goes up and down depending upon, what kind of scenario you have. From there, let's go ahead and optimize this. So let's go into our project settings, and let's go into Windows. And one thing here is use retail Windows Store environments. That's for packaging. It's not really important right now, but that is a good click to have. The other one is to auto detect Windows 10K SDK. You can click that sucker, and sometimes you'll get a different vision depending upon your Visual Studio. But this is a good tool to slightly lower your FPS. The other thing, if you go down to FPS in general, you have your timeline. I changed mine from whatever the stock number was. I believe it was like 24,000. But I put it in from 30 FPS to 60 FPS. And then for the iOS, it's not the same as a iPhone, but it is a operation system. You can enable dynamic match FPS. Go ahead and click that, and then your frame rate lock is about 60. So it won't go anything or any higher than twice that amount, even if it's like having a hard time processing, and it won't go below that amount. Well, at least try to with the parameters, so it doesn't like blow your graphics card or anything like that. So when you ship a game and you have these settings, it helps people out just in general, so they're like, their computer doesn't explode or anything like that. Next tip, rendering. Bam. Okay, so by default, Lumen's usually activated in 5.0. So for the Lumen, it's not like, if you want to check this out in a real-time situation here, is that, let's go over here. So we're pulling about 80 FPS roughly of what's going on. So if I take the Lumen off, and there's a thing called screen space. It's in the beta right now, but screen space it. You see how we just jumped up like 20 FPS for that hoopla, and like literally nothing changed. It's still, it's still doing, like, even with Lumen, it still does the ray tracing. Even with ray tracing, it still does the Lumen. It's just how the system works. But it does do a pretty good job in trying to do all that with the meshes. And because I already set my computer to 60, it's not going to go any higher than 120. And that's, if you're doing all that hoopla. So Lumen itself, if you look at like lights, if you're doing interior, like buildings or caves, things like that don't use the world lighting like you do outside here, there's no reason to use Lumen. It doesn't make any sense. In fact, I would bake most of the textures, or bake most of the lights, and I'll put that in a different video. But by baking the lights, it just makes your FPS go better because everything's stagnant. It's already, it basically pastes itself on the mesh. Speaking of meshes, another interesting thing is, like, if you pull in this this tree stump here, right? We're going to go ahead and go into the folder, and we're going to look at the MI, or the material instance. And we're going to go down, 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 down. Of course, enable nanites with the object itself, but the diffuse, no, that's not it. The dither, that's what it is, a dither option. So, dither LOD transition, bam, bam, just click it, let it do its thing. And what that does is that, what dithering does in general is that, like, it fills everything with, like, dots. So if you have stretched parts of the mesh, or stretched parts of the texture, it's usually the texture, but stretched parts of the texture, instead of stretching that texture and using 60 different colors trying to put it together, the diffuse basically puts little dots all over the place to make it look like it's stretching, but it uses the base colors of your mesh. So it's not pulling purple, it's not pulling lime green or whatever the hell else goes in there. And if you go back into your settings editor and you type in dither, you'll see that in the mobile version or the optimization version, you can go ahead and turn these on. You'll have to restart your computer from there, but by clicking those, it'll allow dithered by most defaults, and right now, because it's waiting to be saved and reloaded or whatever, it's going to hurt my FPS. And that's usually like if there's some type of shaders that are downloading and things like that. So don't worry about those things until you save it and then, go into the options. But those are some really good tips to lower your FPS. Of course, high-end computer, it's easier to do more graphics and things like that, and then like the way that you model things. But that is the video. And like I said, as far as the game is concerned, as far as like what we're trying to build and everything like that, just leave a comment below. If you subscribe, I might just count it as 2. I don't really know. But just kind of go into what kind of game you guys want to see built, and we'll build it together. We'll go with the code. We'll go with the Blender tutorials on how to make some cool stuff, and we'll get that dished out and ready to go. But until then,